It's Tuesday, January 5th, and this is now on HNN.
If you look at us compared to the rest of the nation, we're getting a lot of vaccine out there.
State healthcare workers begin receiving a second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine.
This is the defining moment.
All eyes are on Georgia with the balance of power on Capitol Hill at stake. I'm Skyler Henry in Atlanta as voters head to the polls in two tightly contested Senate runoff races.
45 citations and 1 arrest. HPD's firework enforcement is drawing criticism.
And our local government is not putting in the resources and the time to deal with it.
Plus, the state suspends all surf contests in Hawaii due to the pandemic. These stories and more coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon, Jonathan and Ashley here coming to you from the HNN Digital Center. Wanted to let you know the governor is planning to hold a 1 p.m. press conference. HNN's going to bring that to you on television, on our HNN stations, and all our HNN platforms. But first, we have some breaking news coming in from the Department of Health.
Health officials are reporting 124 new coronavirus cases today and no new fatalities. The breakdown by island shows 12 cases on the Big Island, 1 on Kauai, 21 on Maui, 74 on Oahu, and 16 people were diagnosed out of state. Meanwhile, control of the U.S. Senate is on the line today as voters in Georgia head to the polls to elect their 2 senators. Skyler Henry is in Atlanta with the latest on the runoff elections.
Voters in Georgia went to the polls Tuesday to cast ballots in 2 Senate runoff races with national consequences.
It's going to be close. We don't know who's going to win.
Philip Harrison already voted. Today, he drove his neighbor.
If I hadn't brought him, he probably wouldn't have voted.
Republican Senator David Perdue is facing off against Democrat John Ossoff, and Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler is going up against the Reverend Raphael Warnock. Both Democrats have to win to flip control of the Senate.
This is our day. It's about Georgia.
The future of the country is on the ballot here in Georgia today.
We've seen a steady stream of voters here at this Atlanta polling site, but no long lines. Poll workers tell us that's probably because of the record 3 million early voters. Still, some wanted to wait until today.
And she went through and she was like, I did it.
Pamela Frink brought her daughter to share in the experience.
The joy of being able to see, her understand what today means and what it holds for our future, it just made me feel proud.
Hannah Meacham designed this truck to energize voters.
Rolling up to polls and playing fun music and getting people excited, I think kind of shows a different side to voting.
It could be days before all the votes are counted and winners are declared, but Georgia's Republican Secretary of State tells CBS News there is no reason to doubt the results of today's election. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Atlanta.
Kauai is allowing inter-island travelers again starting today. They'll still have to provide proof of a negative coronavirus test result from a trusted testing partner 72 hours before boarding a flight. This applies to out-of-state visitors too, but county officials say non-Hawaii residents will need to spend at least 3 days on another island first. After that, they can take another test, receive a negative result, and then get on a flight to Kauai. The test and the flight must be done within 72 hours of each other. Also today, Kauai is allowing so-called resort bubbles as an option for a shorter quarantine for visitors. One of those resort bubble properties is Timbers Kauai. We spoke to Gary Moore, the managing director.
So this is something we've been working closely with the county on, the balance between, getting our economy reopened along with keeping us safe here. So we're really excited to have this go forward. And, it's only been announced for about a week now. So we're still getting it populated into the channels, but we did see an uptick of about 15% for the month of January already after the news. And we're optimistic we're going to continue to see that increase as months go on.
Yeah, that is good news. So just to refresh for people who haven't been familiar with this, those that come here to Kauai that have a negative test are allowed to stay at the resort for 3 days and then get a test again. And then hopefully they come back negative and then they can go out and tour the island. How is the testing going to work, Gary? Is it going to be on campus?
Yes, we will have on-site testing. We have it available every day at certain times. There's also the possibility for in-residence, door-to-door service. Both of those are a little more expensive. And then we also have the ability to shuttle the guests that are under the resort bubble to a testing facility here down the road that would be a little bit less. So there's actually, 3 different possibilities for testing.
Well, what kind of efforts are being made? I would imagine. I'm sorry, Gary, but I would imagine you have to separate the population, those that have just arrived and those that have already taken the test and come back negative. How do you plan to do that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so the way that the resort bubble program works is we do have a separation. As you can see on the lanai behind me here, it's quite spacious. So you have certain areas that are for resort bubble and certain areas for folks that have already cleared. And the same with our restaurant. Our fitness facility, for example, that's by appointment. So only, families or groups traveling together, they reserve that in 1 hour blocks. And then we have a 450-acre resort with golf and miles of hiking and biking trails and a 16.5-acre organic farm, 31 acres of lagoons with kayaks and paddle boards. So there's plenty of things for people to do for, the first, 72 hours that they're here, or even longer. We have actually had the resort bubble approved since October 1st. And we did have some guests come in before the Safe Travels program started, and then after Kauai opted out on December 2nd. So our team here is really plugged into the process. They really understand how it works, and our owners and guests as well on the pre-arrival. I think the biggest challenge right now is communicating to the travelers who want to come to Kauai, because it is confusing between Safe Travels, how Safe Travels works, and how Kauai works is a little different.
New today, state officials say they are suspending all surf competitions until further notice. The World Surf League says it is canceling the Sunset Open and the Big Wave Jaws Championship. This comes after the WSL held an event at Pipeline last month. State officials say it's hard to limit the number of people at a public beach and prevent crowds from gathering. Meanwhile, new at noon, the Aloha Stadium will be reopening the swap meet and marketplace tomorrow. Face coverings are required. 6 feet social distancing will also be implemented. As part of the reopening during the month of January, there will be no admission cost on Wednesdays. State healthcare workers are getting their second dose of vaccine this week. Sammy Selena joins us with the update.
No one's really happier about that second dose than folks in our emergency room. So we're joined by Dr. Nathan Engel. He is the chief of emergency medicine over at Straub, and your team has just had a rough couple months during this pandemic. I mean, what do you guys have to go through on a daily basis over at that ER?
Yeah, COVID has been a real challenge for us in 2020. It can present very subtly with minor symptoms, or it can present very severe where the lungs fail. And it's very difficult to predict who has it. And so we have to take extra steps to screen every patient and make sure that they don't have symptoms for it. And if they do, we have to segregate them from the other patients in the general population to keep everybody safe. In addition, we need specialized equipment to care for these patients. We need to transport them in a safe manner. We need to make sure that the visitors that visit them are kept safe as well. And of course, our staff. We need to stay safe if we're using specialized breathing equipment, protective face masks, and N95s at all times. So it's been a real challenge for us this year.
I mean, what does it mean to you and your team? You have an appointment set for that second shot. I'm sure a lot of the folks that you work with have that appointment, that you guys are going to be able to not have to worry about so much anymore. You're going to keep your precautions, but you have this weight that's going to be lifted off your shoulders in just a couple days here.
Yeah, this has been huge. The vaccine has been huge, and I can just sense the relief in my staff, knowing that they are going to be safe, and that their patients are going to be safe, and that their families are going to be safe, and that we're going to be able to contribute to the safety of the community. And most importantly, we're going to be there when somebody needs help, when somebody needs us in the department. We're going to be there for them because we're not sick at home.
And so, you know, with the second dose, we hear that there can be symptoms, especially with that second shot. Is that something that you guys are going to keep in mind as your staff gets vaccinated and be flexible with, hey, you know, if someone goes in, gets the shot and doesn't feel all that well afterwards, is that something that you guys are keeping in mind?
Absolutely. We've anticipated that. We know that with any medication, there's a risk of side effects, pain at the site of injection, for instance, or more advanced things like headache or dizziness. So we take that into account for all of our patients, as well as for our staff, and making sure that they're not all vaccinated at the same time.
Dr. Nathan Engel, thank you so much for joining us this morning and adding all this perspective to what you guys do, and thank you so much for the work that you and your team do.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Hawaii News Now hosted an hour-long discussion last night on the state's rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine.
Hawaii is actually doing really well with vaccination. We've gotten about 25,000 people vaccinated already. Some of it you have to realize we've only had vaccine for a couple of weeks now, and that was through the Christmas holiday and the New Year's holiday. So that curtailed a little bit of our efforts, but we're doing very well. If you look at us compared to the rest of the nation, we're getting a lot of vaccine out there. And I think it's going to ramp up from here. And our goal is to really get vaccine to our community in a timely manner.
If you missed it, you can watch the rebroadcast this afternoon at 3 on KGMB. We will also be posting it on all our digital platforms.
We've learned the Ige administration is thinking about raising taxes to fill a $1.4 billion budget shortfall. I wanted to play this out for you. You'll see the state's budget and finance director really struggled to explain these details to state lawmakers yesterday.
Okay, so you're looking at suspensions and tax increases?
We're looking at a bunch of, not quite sure yet. It could be tax increases, could be just revenue enhancements.
The finance director was repeatedly asked how much revenue would be generated from the potential tax increase and other revenue enhancements, but he was unable to give any specific details. He says any possible proposals will be further explained in bills from the Ige administration. Hawaiian Airlines backs off its return to Japan. Howard Dykes has the details.
So over the holidays, Hawaiian has been flying 3 times weekly to Osaka, 3 times weekly to Tokyo Haneda, 6 times a week to Tokyo Narita. But next week, Hawaiian winds that up and then cuts back to 1, 1, and 3 flights a week. In January of last year, that was pre-COVID, of course, Hawaiian flew more than twice this much capacity between here and Japan. A study by the UH Med School finds COVID's exacerbated a statewide shortage of doctors. We have more than 10,000 licensed doctors in Hawaii, but only about a third of them are actively providing patient care, and a lot of those are working only part-time. So we have, according to the study, the equivalent of 2,812 full-time physicians. A year ago, we had 162 more than that. More than 100 moved away, and almost as many retired. Of those that remain, 1 in 5 are 65 or older, including one who is 90. Hawaii has a small tech sector, but there's growth potential in it. It's a nice place to live, of course, and the military funds all kinds of tech development. For 7 years, we've had a state tax credit for R&R that qualifies for federal incentives. In other words, if you get the federal incentives, you can get the state credit as well. But fewer than 24 firms a year apply for it. UHERO suggests raising the $5 million credit cap for the program to $20 million to try to bring more applications and more locally based tech development. 50 years after Rocky Aoki founded Benihana at Hilton Hawaiian Village, the company transfers management of the restaurant to son Kevin Aoki, known for Blue Tree Cafe, an Indochine restaurant. Benihana has been renamed Rocky Japanese Steak Teppan Restaurant.
The state is investigating another large party at a popular Maui beach. This is video from the last time doe care officers broke up a gathering at Little Beach in November. Officials say these parties in Makena happen every Sunday, and while enforcement has been ramped up, there are not enough officers to respond each week. The state tells us it's looking at long-term solutions to the gatherings. It's been more than a decade since Oahu banned most fireworks, and the result is loud and clear. More families are turning to illegal aerials to ring in the new year. Honolulu police are allowed to use photos and video as evidence to make arrests, but as Jolani Martinez reports, it's just not happening.
We talked to people in government and the shipping industry, and no one seems to know for sure where all the fireworks are coming from. Despite all the laws in the books, some say ending illegal aerials simply hasn't been a priority.
The firecrackers aren't the major problem. It's the illegal aerials, the loud booms, and the explosive type of fireworks.
As the clock strikes midnight, aerials illuminated the sky across Oahu to bring in the new year. But between December 29th and January 2nd, HPD only issued 45 citations and made 1 arrest relating to fireworks. In a video we obtained, a man lights up an aerial firework in Waipahu, which shot directly toward a patrol car. HPD pauses and drives off. From the looks of it, the man was not cited. We reached out to HPD regarding the video but have not received a response. Former State Senator William Espero thinks the belief that fireworks is a tradition in Hawaii leaves officers in a bind.
Some of these HPD officers don't want to be the Grinch. Sadly, they should be, because that's their job. That's what they're paid for. And when they don't take action, then the community thinks it's okay.
According to Honolulu Emergency Services Department, there were 6 firework-related injuries compared to 5 in the last year. The department says what's troubling is there were a few children who were injured.
And I believe in eye injury, and that's sad to hear. They're going into their new year now with an injury.
Espero says elected officials and HPD should address the issue at the ports and focus on those dealing and selling illegal fireworks.
There's a strong black market of illegal aerials, and our local government is not putting in the resources and the time to deal with it.
The City Council recently passed a resolution asking the state to audit harbor inspection procedures. But Matson's spokesperson told us that containers on every ship are inspected by state and federal agencies, and in the past 20 years they have not found any illegal fireworks. However, the spokesperson points out that legal fireworks are shipped to Oahu for permitted events and to other islands where it's legal. Jolani Martinez, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you, Giolani. I'm still hearing them go off in my neighborhood for sure. Let's take you outside. There's Aloha Tower. Billy V in for Guy Hoggy today with an update on our weather.
Aloha no, aloha kako. Billy V sitting in for Guy Hoggy. Here's your forecast. We'll concentrate on the waves first and show you up on the North Shore. We've got 16 to 22 foot surf. This is just below warning levels. Also, west side is 12 to 16. So we do have advisories posted for you. As a matter of fact, National Weather Service is posting a high surf advisory in effect. This is for the islands from Niihau all the way down to Molokai. That's the north and west shores. And then also for the North Shore of Maui. So once again, so high surf advisory, small craft advisories are in effect. Today, daytime high is going to be near 84, partly cloudy to mostly sunny skies depending on where you are. The easterly winds are 10 to 15 miles per hour. Let's give you an idea of what the winds are like, because that's kind of guiding our weather here. So we've got light winds today, mostly more in the bluer, lighter colors, but as we get into tomorrow, the winds are going to start to pick up. And as we move into Thursday, they're going to be strong and gusty winds. And then enjoy this weather between now and Thursday, because after that on Friday the winds are practically gone. What we do is we've got a cold front that's up here to the north, and that's going to go block our trade wind. So we go Friday into Saturday and even into Sunday. Probably Sunday it starts to make a little bit of a comeback. Enjoy your weather. It's going to be nice weather for you. Once again, trade wind weather in effect. Get the latest on air online on your mobile device and at hawaiinewsnow.com.
Some local stories has the internet talking today, and we start with this really cool modern marvel that has just pulled up to Honolulu Harbor. Check it out. This is Matson's new ship. It's called the Matsonia, which is a very cool name. It's the largest roll-on, roll-off container ship ever built in the U.S. It arrived this morning after its maiden voyage. It was built in San Diego. And get this, it's 870 feet long and it has about enough room for 500 vehicles. That's like an entire parking garage of vehicles. And it was a bargain price, really, like $250 million. Huh, yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? It has a twin sister ship. They're said to be the largest vessels of their kind.
Very cool.
Very cool.
So the USGS has a new tool that allows you to look at how Halemaumau crater has changed since the new eruption. So just by dragging your mouse from left to right, you can see how much lava has poured into the crater in just the past few weeks. At last check, experts say the lava lake was 623 feet deep and about as wide as 9 football fields.
Yeah, it's a total before and after slider there. That's very cool.
I appreciate that. That's really handy. And Starbucks, you guys, has announced a new winter menu with some new drinks, including a pistachio latte and a honey almond milk cold brew. Now, the latte includes a sauce made with real pistachios and a salted brown buttery topping. That sounds really good. It's available hot or iced and blended. On the treat side, the winter menu features an earth cake pop and a red velvet loaf. Now, the earth cake pop is dipped in blue icing and covered in green and white sprinkles. And the company is also adding items to its permanent menu, like a kale and portobello mushroom sous vide egg bites.
Okay, lots of new options there. And new options if you're looking for another doc to watch on your streaming services. We're talking about HBO Max and Tiger. This documentary looks so epic. Of course, it follows Tiger Woods, his rise, his fall, and his epic comeback of one of the world's greatest golfers here. It features interviews with Woods' father and a bunch of other people that knew him well. The 2-part series debuts Sunday, again on HBO Max. I have been watching Murder on the Bayou, Showtime, I believe. So good. Had me hooked. Watched the whole thing this weekend. Yep,
I could
good
get
one.
hooked on something new. Now, it's not unusual for a new iPhone to go viral when it debuts, but what would stir up sudden buzz about the empty box the phone comes in? Well, of course, Jeannie Moves reports it's all about on how the box is being used.
A new iPhone may be
what a lot of you have been waiting for.
But you know what may outlive that phone?
Back to the box.
The empty box. iPhone box began trending thanks to this taunting tweet. I don't know who needs to hear this, but throw away that box your iPhone came in. You don't need it. You will never need it. Oh yeah? iPhone box hoarders came out of the closet, posting photos of the box being used as a drawer divider, transformed into wall art featuring boxes from various Apple products. Someone even turned an iPhone box into a gaming joystick controller. Sure, the phone itself might have fancy features like liquid retina display and Touch ID.
Deplastified.
One fan praised it as the pinnacle of cardboard box design. Those online unboxing reviews tend to treat the box
Easily the slimmest looking iPhone box ever.
as itself worthy of critique.
You can see the outline of the phone, which is actually a really cool thing.
Empty iPhone boxes are even sold on eBay, averaging $8 to $10 a piece. iPhone empty boxes are ideal for resellers reselling the actual phone. There is literally life after death for the iPhone box. It is the perfect fit for a departed rodent. My gerbil died. Homie's coffin and iPhone box. Rest in peace, bro. Or how about as a coffin for my son's hermit crab? We used one for my hamster. The iPhone itself may go extinct, but the box has an afterlife. Jeannie Moose, CNN, New York.
Poor hamsters. That'll do it for This Is Now press conference coming up at 1 p.m. with Governor Ige.